Hey everybody, welcome back to Dev Parkour. I'm Brian Parks, and in this video I want to talk about why we care about code quality. And when I talk about code quality, what I mean is not what your QA department does. I'm not talking about quality assurance. I'm not talking about finding bugs, making sure that bugs get fixed, and I'm not making sure that, not talking about reducing the number of bugs that get shipped, at any point along the line. What I'm talking about is the quality of the source code itself, not of the overall product, but of the code itself. So things like readability, maintainability. I've mentioned security before, though that's a little bit slightly different. We'll talk specifically about security in future videos. But I really am talking about the quality of the source code. Similar to the way that you might read, say something written by, just your average fourth grader, compared to something written by, Shakespeare, or, pick another famous author that's generally held to be, the epitome of good writing. You might argue that Shakespeare is not necessarily good writing, but take that to a literature discussion. In any event, there's a difference between the quality of the writing. And I don't mean to say that a junior developer is going to have lower quality code than a senior developer, and that certainly might be the case. But again, I'm not really talking about experience here. I'm talking about how easy it is for other people to read it, how easy it is for other people to maintain it, how easy it is for people to find bugs in the code, to debug things, to step through things. And one of the ways that companies try to manage code quality is by having code styles, or a style guide or something like that. So for instance, curly braces are always on the next line or always on the same line. And maybe that varies by language. In JavaScript, the convention, and there are actually some technical reasons why this is recommended, the curly brace should go on the same line, whereas in C#, the convention is that the curly brace goes on the next line. I've been writing some Rust recently. Curly brace goes on the same line, as far as I can tell anyway. If you're writing Go, you might have a different style. But those sorts of things are good because they keep consistency throughout the code base. And that's really the key there. It's not about who's right, who's wrong, who has the right reasoning for why we should put curly braces on a particular line, or why you should have 2 spaces versus 4 spaces for your indentation. I actually worked at a job where the indentation was 3 spaces, as a compromise between 2 and 4, so no one was happy. Ultimately, what it came down to is I have my preference, right? My preference is 100% 4 spaces. I do not use tabs. However, if I'm going to go into a company, I'm not going to try to enforce my styles on someone else. If there's a company that's using tabs, I've worked at companies that use tabs. Okay, fine. I'll set up my editor to use tabs, and I'll use tabs. I would much rather be consistent with what everybody else is doing than have some code in one style and other code in a different style. Now, where that does get into kind of a tricky situation is languages, technologies, ways of writing programs do continue to evolve. A good example of this is with React. When React first came out, React was 100% class-based components. And I think this may have even been before the JavaScript standard that had class support was really fully a standard. So this was 100% through transpilation. But the way to write a React component was to write a JavaScript class. Okay, fine. But now React has something called functional components. And for me, functional components make a whole lot more sense. I really like how functional components work. Somehow, even though I was not a functional programmer for a long time, I was very much imperative and object oriented. Functional components just seem to make sense to me. So all of the new componentry that I write, I'm writing in functional components. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to go back and rewrite all of the old React components, even if I might use it inside of a functional component that I'm writing. I'm not going to go and rewrite all of those as functional components just because, right? Even though that does introduce some inconsistency, I've made a conscious choice, and this is in tandem with multiple developers. So I can't take credit for the decision. We have made a conscious choice that eventually we'll probably go back and rewrite a bunch of these class-based components as functional components. But for now, they work. They're pretty much rock solid, with small exceptions. We haven't had to change a whole lot of them. So we've just kept them as class-based components because it would take a lot more time and effort, and we'd risk introducing new bugs to rewrite those class-based components as functional components rather than just using the class-based components directly. So my cat is about to take down the hammock, so I'm going to sign off from this video. That's pretty much all I wanted to say, but yeah, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when the next video is released. Exercise code quality in your software. Code quality is good. Do awesome things. I will see you later.